If you look closely, in fact, 05:17 hours Persian Gulf. Calm dawn light glimmers across the water. To be fair, the sonar hum is steady. Radar sweeps scan the horizon methodically. Simply put, basically, in fact, then a sudden violent rupture, a blip erupts into a swarm. In fact, immediate radar and sensor feeds saturate the combat information center. 60 distinct surface contacts are detected converging at high speed. Basically, to be fair, simply put, each is a fast attack profile closing from bearing 0808 30 knots. Command recognition is instantaneous. These are Iranian boats executing a coordinated strike package. Tactical action officers input vectors. Weapons systems stand ready. In fact, honestly, basically communication is terse, precise, clipped. Stakes escalate with every second. In fact, to be fair, the battle space is now fully active. Bridge announcements propagate across the carrier, threat confirmed. Basically, simply put, engagement imminent. The operational tempo accelerates as the first line of defense is prepared. Basically, 05:19 hours. IFF hails are attempted. Honestly, simply put, silence. 2 minutes remain before lethal range. Simply put, if you look closely, radar cross-section tracking spikes. USS Abraham Lincoln's closest contacts compress to 15 nautical miles. In fact, basically, combat air patrol is vectored into position. Tactical countdown begins. If you look closely, honestly, missiles are prepped. Sensors track angular convergence of hostile craft. Basically, if you look closely, bridge cruise brace. Weapons systems are fully operational. Honestly, in fact, every sensor is feeding precise data. 05:21 hours. The first E-to-D advanced Hawkeye launches slicing into the dawn sky. Honestly, radar arrays sweep expansively, feeding real-timed data across the engagement envelope. Tactical action officers input target coordinates, 45 contacts within 12 nautical miles, 15 within 9 nautical miles. If you look closely, basically, fighter controllers vector strike aircraft. The air group establishes the first line of defense. In fact, honestly, seconds are measured. Every maneuver must be precise. Basically, simply put, to be fair, honestly, engagement is now kinetic. 05:23 hours. Two MH-60 are Seahawks launch from the carrier's aft deck. In fact, to be fair, acoustic sensors pivot, identifying signatures on the incoming swarm. The threat boats maintain wave-piercing speed and close angularly, forming encirclement patterns. Basically, engagement vectors are uploaded to fire control systems. USS Abraham Lincoln's radar blips compress 98 nautical miles. Honestly, simply put, bridge announcements coordinate defensive priorities. Weapon systems aligned by range air assets first, then shipboard missile batteries, followed by CIWS. 05:24 hours. Basically, AGM-65 Mavericks are readied for rapid deployment on airborne platforms. In fact, Seahawk pilots report radial water plumes indicative of hostile trimaran craft equipped with mounted autocannons. Simply put, the kinetic fight has commenced. Bridge personnel remain braced, scanning the dynamic tactical display. Honestly, weapons hold is lifted. To be fair, engagement zones are confirmed. 05:25 hours. To be fair, in fact, if you look closely, phalanx CIWS systems power up. Radar locks multiple inbound vectors. To be fair, basically, tactical countdown pulses 7 nautical miles. If you look closely, bridge officers issue crisp directives. To be fair, if you look closely, air controllers clear deck space. Sonar alerts whisper beneath the surface. Simply put, hull plating vibrates under the tension of potential impacts. Engagement envelops contract. To be fair, honestly, in fact, the swarm compresses further. 05:27 hours. Hostile craft cross the 5 nautical mile threshold. If you look closely, honestly, profiles are low, fast, bristling with armaments. Sea Sparrow missiles launch. In fact, missile away at 05:27 hours. Impact in 20 seconds. Honestly, basically, the first target vaporizes in a column of seawater and flame. Contact tracking confirms kill. Simply put, if you look closely, honestly, the swarm compresses. Bridge crews maintain lethal vigilance. Honestly, in fact, to be fair, tactical action officers input updates rapidly. 05:28 hours. Hostiles split into 2 vectors. Basically, simply put, one arc targets the carrier's starboard quarter. Another heads toward a destroyer's screening element. Tactical commands propagate SPO-16 missiles launch. Direct hits register. Simply put, in fact, explosions shudder through sensors. Shockwaves ripple across decks. In fact, honestly, simply put, to be fair, every system executes according to doctrine. Defensive coordination is flawless. 05 29 hours. If you look closely, honestly, an inbound craft slips beneath radar coverage, low-profile approach. 2 Mark 50 for torpedoes are released from a nearby destroyer. To be fair, Torpedo 1 intercepts in 32 seconds. To be fair, Torpedo 2 self-destructs after range expiry. Basically, threat vectors recalculate. Tactical picture remains fluid. To be fair, simply put, bridge personnel adjust engagements. 05 31 hours. Air battle intensifies. To be fair, simply put, to FA-18 Super Hornets captured by EGD engage with AIM 120 AM RAIM. Missiles away. First intercepted 8 nautical miles. Second impact detonates hostile ordnance. Simply put, the sky erupts. Shockwaves reverberate across the carrier. To be fair, simply put, tactical countdown inches forward. Swarm activity decreases slightly. To be fair, however, threats remain active. 05 34 hours. Iranian swarm persists. In fact, 28 boats remain within 4 nautical miles. Small arms fire detected. In fact, Phalanx CIWS fires 20 bursts. First craft disintegrates in luminous fragments. Basically, missile defense coordination pivots to point defense. Rolling airframe missiles deploy 10 fired in rapid succession. If you look closely, assault geometry shifts. Enemy tightens the ring. Simply put, tactical action officer updates engagement envelope 3 nautical miles in closing. 05 38 hours. 12 hostile craft form a wedge toward the carrier's stern. To be fair, deck crews brace. Silence fractures. To be fair, simply put, the sky erupts. 12 simultaneous impacts overwhelm proximal sensors. In fact, simply put, explosive waves shatter secondary control room windows. Air defense artillery screams. Phalanx systems roar. Missiles streak overhead. In fact, if you look closely, radar tracks every fragment.
Report
USS
confirmed.
Abraham
System
Lincoln's
stable.
counterstrike is total.
Complete. Plotting.
20 hostiles
Overlay threats.
obliterated.
Update reserves.
Simply put, 16 disabled by missile strikes. 2 sunk by close-in gunfire. Simply put, carrier sustained superficial damage, no critical systems lost. Casualty reports are minimal. To be fair, honestly, damage control parties mobilize instantly. Honestly, 05 41 hours. Silence returns. To be fair, 6 hostile boats remain adrift outside lethal range. Rescue craft from screening destroyers detain survivors. Combat air patrol remains on station. Persian Gulf waters bear testimony to the encounter wreckage scattered erratically. If you look closely, simply put, 10 minutes after initial contact, flight deck resumes operations. Helicopters recover boarding teams. To be fair, simply put, tactical action officer confirms final damage assessment 0 U.S. Fatalities 8 wounded. Honestly, to be fair, hostile neutralization 40 for destroyed, 10 disabled, 6 fled. 17 minutes after initial contact, stillness blankets the Gulf. Strategic lessons are immediate layered defenses, sensor fusion, decisive engagement authorization proved fundamental. Honestly, if you look closely, Iranian swarm tactics neutralized. Regional reactions cascade. Neighboring states broadcast concern and support. Strategic partners emphasize coordinated patrols. United Nations Security Council convenes to assess escalation risks. Analysts highlight the efficiency of integrated air and missile defense. Tactical action officer orchestration demonstrates redundancy and precision. If you look closely, engagement reshapes doctrines on swarm threats in littoral zones. Surface warfare specialists update wargaming to include multi-vector neutralization sequences. Psychological impact noted decisive capability projections sends a clear deterrent message. Persian Gulf security relies on proven operational readiness, not negotiation. Economic and maritime stability concerns are evaluated. Simply put, secure sea lanes support global commerce. Insurance and risk assessments adjust in real time. In fact, if you look closely, energy markets monitor Gulf security. Humanitarian operations follow conventions. Simply put, honestly, survivors from hostile craft receive medical care. Documentation enters naval operational history. Basically, strategic analysis confirms preparedness against asymmetric surface threats is essential. To be fair, early detection to decisive neutralization demonstrates effectiveness of layered systems. Abraham Lincoln's crew executed with precision under duress. Simply put, basically, honestly, Persian Gulf remains under vigilant watch. Sensors can continuously. If you look closely, simply put, strike groups maintain layered patrol formations. To be fair, the strait remains open not through negotiation. Honestly, basically, however, demonstrated capability. If you look closely, 1705 hours Persian Gulf horizon glimmers under fading sunlight. Carrier strike group sails onward. Basically, honestly, if you look closely, its presence is a testament to unwavering resolve and mastery of maritime order.